guys? Thanks so much for clicking on my channel. With all smiles over here, I am Will Sanja, like asking a question. Will Sanja help me keep a smile for today? And hopefully the answer is yes, you guys. I'm trying not to keep it long, but y'all already know. If it gets good, I'm gonna keep on talking. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. To go to the negative today is all lives matter to God. But listen, don't you press stop. Don't you press stop, because it's the truth. Listen, we are in a mode of distraction. That is what's going on. What am I talking about? First and foremost, let me say this. My heart and prayers go out to anybody who have fallen victim to those individuals who have not been aligned and connected, which means what? They were working off of stuff that is of the enemy, which means what? It calls to kill, steal, and destroy. So my prayers and my condolences goes out to all those who have fallen victim to people who are in contrary to who God is. Let me say that. Now let me get back into this. COVID-19 comes around, right? The virus is kicking butt. People are dying. Fear is in the land. Doubt is in the land. People are just in a pandemic, right? And so what ends up happening as the virus continues, we as a people begin to wisen up to the truth of what really matters, which means what? We begin to go inside within core of knowing who God is in our lives, which means what? We begin to understand that family is important and that unity is important. And so we began to move forward in unity within America and within other countries, right? We got the unity thing going on. And so what happens? The enemy who comes to kill, steal, and destroy sees that and says, what? Wait a minute. What's going on? America is getting too united with who they are at core. And as a people, this ain't right. I don't have enough playing field to do some crazy stuff to them. They ain't paying attention to me. So I'm going to have to throw a wrench in their harmony. I'm gonna have to throw a wrench in their unity. I'm gonna have to throw a wrench in their peace of mind. I'm gonna have to throw a wrench, in other words. And so what he does, he throws the wrench, and the wrench looks like what? A police officer killing a black male. And what happens? People take their eyes off of the prize of being united, and then what? Divide comes. And we're not even looking at this thing as a distraction. What we're doing, we're seeing what? With our physical eyes. And because you're seeing with your physical eyes and that you're now all the way aligned and connected, now you're feeling like what? An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, which means what? You want somebody to get got. Which means what? You are beginning to sin because what? You're angry and upset, and you're putting actions to that anger. That's why you're out there doing what? Causing more harm than good. You're spray painting, right? Buildings, You're throwing bricks into buildings, right? And you're even hurting people, killing people, taking down tractor trailers, just doing all kind of crazy stuff. Now ask yourself, is that in alignment with God? It is not. That is of the enemy. As you like to say, the devil. Coming to kill, steal, and destroy. You're running around like chickens with your heads cut off. Running around with no guidance, none whatsoever. And you hadn't even stopped to notice that what you're in is in distraction. You're distracted. Because the enemy knows that when you are in unity, when you are in alignment, when you are coming into who you are at core, which is God, then blessings begin to reign. You begin to get in your true purpose of life. And just as soon as you got close enough to it, distraction came and you fell for it. You fell for it. And some of you are calling out racism, calling out a whole lot of things. You're not calling the distraction for what it is. What you're doing instead, you're fighting something that is spiritual level with something physical. Did you hear what I said? You're fighting something that's spiritual. You're fighting it from a physical standpoint. Because that police officer, the police officer didn't kill the man. The underlying root of who he was operating as killed the man. He was operating either from a place of what? Fear, a place of doubt, a place of hate, a place of anger, and all of that spiritual. And you are not understanding that because you're so distracted. And that distraction is causing you to what? Separate and divide to where you're saying what? Black lives matter. A reminder, people, all lives matter. All lives matter. God breathed into Adam and life was there. And so when God see you and he see me and he see an Hispanic, a Russian, whatever ethnicity, from wherever you from or wherever you came from or whatever, he sees us all the same as his what? Creation. So divide comes from what? The enemy, the devil. And you don't even realize that you're caught up in his distraction. God wants to do a whole lot for not just you and not just me and not just our community. He wants to do a whole lot for the entire world. But if we are so not in alignment with him, we will never get to the space where we're supposed to be. Because we're so easily distracted. We're so easily distracted. Easily distracted. And now you're out there what? Fighting a spiritual battle physically. Like I say, causing more harm than good. Think about it. Remember when Jesus was on the boat and the storm was raging in the ocean? What was Jesus doing? He was sleeping peacefully. Why? Because he was connected at core with God. He knew who he was, which was what? God at core. So he could sleep throughout all the distraction in the ocean. He could sleep in that. Why? Because he knew that everything was going to work out for his good. He knew that everything was okay. He knew that God had him. And so he was asleep. But the other people on the ship, were they asleep? Of course not. They were running around like chickens with their heads off. Just like you're doing right now. And they were in an uproar because of the distraction that was going on in the ocean. So they went to Jesus and said, Jesus, waking him up out of his peaceful sleep. Said, we gonna die. We gonna die. Look at all this. Look at all this distraction. We gonna die. And God spoke through Jesus and just said, what? Peace be still. Now let me ask you this. Did Jesus fight the ocean physically? I mean, did he get a paddle and start hitting the water? Did he get his hand and start splat, splat, plop, plop, plop on the water? Did he do that? No, he did not. He just spoke. God spoke out of him, it was what? Spiritual. He spoke to the raginess, if that's a word. I think it's a word. If not, you know what I'm trying to say. He spoke to the ocean and told it what? Peace. And then told it to be still. And it had to obey. What if we applied that method today? But what do we first have to do? Because, you know, the thing with Jesus, he knew who he was at core. And because he knew that he was God at core, what was he doing? He had that prayer life on deck, on fleek, okay? I know that's an old word, but you know what I'm trying to do. He had that meditation on fleek. He had his fasting on fleek, right? He had his positive thinking on fleek. He had his possible thinking on fleek. All of that working together. And because of that, God could use him, could speak through him, to speak through to the ocean. And it worked. So what do you think we have to do? Jesus said we should do greater works than he did, okay? All right? And if we want to see real change in America, across the world, then we're going to have to get to that Jesus life, okay? Which means what? Knowing who we are at core, which is God, and then allowing God to lead and operate within us so we can see with some clarity. So when we see things with our physical eyes, our spiritual eyes will kick in and let us know this is something of the spirit. So I need to pray. I need to meditate. I need to fast. Okay. I need to think positive, which means what? Now you will be guided by God. You will not be running around like chickens with your heads cut off. Because right now you're looking crazy. You ain't representing me. I'm just telling you now. Oh, no, you're not. And guess what? You ain't representing other families. And let me tell y'all this. It ain't just of our ethnicity, of African Americans that's out here cutting the food. I've seen some of the videos. It's other ethnicities doing the same thing. Saying they for the cause, for the people. And you out here spray painting, throwing bricks in businesses and busting up windows, tearing up stuff. That's killing, stealing, and destroying. That's contrary to who God is. That is of the enemy. And you are so distracted that you can't even tell. Matter of fact, some of y'all are just doing it. It ain't even about what happened to the guy who died by the hands of the police officer. It's just that you got something to fight about, a cause. And God don't even need your help to fight. He don't need your help. He can snap a finger, blink an eye, and it'll be rectified. But sometimes God wants to rectify things through us. But if we're not all the way aligned and connected, allowing God to lead within us, then what? We'll be doing this cycle over and over and over and over and over and over and over. This word is pertaining to every single person. If every single person, black, white, yellow, brown, green, doodle brown, whatever you want to call it, okay? Whatever ethnicity, if every ethnicity, every humankind on earth will get aligned and connected, knowing who they are at core, which is God, and then allow God to lead, which means where God will be at everybody's forefront of everybody's life, leading, moving in and through them, then everybody will have clarity. And when the enemy decides to approach us with distraction, we'll be able to say, no, God got too much in store for me and my family. God got too much purpose in me for me to fall for that okie doke. And we'll find ourselves in a peaceful life. In other words, having heaven on earth, literally. But you're finding yourself in spaces that are not good. All because what? You're not all the way aligned and connected. And you're trying to fight something that's spiritual with physical. Y'all here looting, stealing, and then probably going home saying, ain't God good? Really? This ain't the way, y'all. It's not the way. Peace be still. Peace be still. I told y'all, you're not representing anybody. You're not representing a type of people. You're not. If you out here destroying stuff, looting, burning stuff down, spray painting, you're not representing the young man who died. He wasn't even doing all of that. And that's what you're doing? You fight for him? I know his family. Now, you know what? I know it sometimes feels good if somebody wants to stand up for you. But if you're going to stand up for a family and cut the food, no. That's not the way to go. You need to be led by God. This is a spiritual fight. Like I said, that's why we keep coming back to the same thing over and over. Because you're still trying to fight something spiritual with your physical hands. I told you, Jesus did not fight that ocean with his hands. He wouldn't hit in the water. He didn't get a paddle from the boat and start beating the ocean. No, he just spoke to it. Something spiritual. God says, speak. 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 Speak it. But in order to speak something, you have to have power behind it. Which means what? God's authority behind it. And the only way you get God's authority behind your word is that what? You are aligned and connected. Which means that you're allowing God to lead. So listen, y'all. All lives matter to God. And they matter to me. It's not just Black Lives Matter. That's causing a divide. That's a distraction. Every life matters. Every single life matters. Don't matter what ethnicity it is. And stop seeing people in their titles as a physical for you to what? Talk down to them. For you to think that they're the bad guy. Because the truth be told as well, anybody who becomes a police officer, they take an oath to say they are there to what? Protect the people and to protect themselves. And anybody who is aligned and connected will honor that oath. So by you saying a police officer killed him, listen, you putting stipulations and you putting a stankness on all police officers. I've come across a lot of police officers, and so have my husband, because we be speeding and whatnot sometimes, and every once in a while we run a light, okay? And they stop us. And God is good that, majority of the time we get warnings. You know what I mean? And we are learning our lessons, and we're going to obey the law and do what we're supposed to do. But we have come across so many police officers who was well represented. Why? Because they were honoring that oath that they took. And it was obvious that they knew who they were at core, or they had some type of connection with God to know what was the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do. That police officer that killed that young man, it was not the policeman that did it. It was fear operating. That's something spiritual. Or it was what? Hate, which is spiritual. You get what I'm saying? So y'all stop fighting something spiritual, something physical with your, something spiritual with your physical. Now my words getting twisted up, but y'all know what I'm trying to tell you. You're still trying to fight this thing from the physical realm. You got to go in spiritual. You got to go in spiritual. You do. And like I said, when you do that, you will begin to see change. And listen, God says what? When what? 2 or 3 touch and agree? Just 2 or 3. How many is it of y'all out there destroying stuff right now? Throwing stuff in windows and looting and burning stuff up. How many? It's more than 2. Why don't y'all come together and get a mind of God? Begin to think like Jesus was thinking, okay? Take on the charismatic demeanor of Jesus. I think I said that right, but if I didn't, y'all know what I'm trying to say, okay? So listen, take on the walk. In other words, walk in the spirit the way Jesus did. And watch how you'll be able to fight that spiritual battle with your spiritual within. Am I saying this right? I hope I am. I've been talking for 16 minutes, so maybe that's why my words get all whatever. But you know what I'm saying. In other words, represent the God at core. Because right now you ain't representing nobody. You most certainly ain't. I'm telling you, you ain't representing the African American community. No, you're not. Announcement to the world. The people out there looting and stuff, they do not represent us. They do not represent African Americans. They do not represent anybody of this, okay? Nobody. They're not representing nobody. No, they don't represent us. They don't. They don't. Because that's not how we are. We are not that type of people. We are not. Matter of fact, nobody that type of people, okay? Nobody's like that. Only people who do things in that manner, that means they're not guided. And we are a guided people. Why? Because God created us, which means what? We have a guide. We have a guide. But those people out there doing that, they don't represent me. No, you don't represent me. I love y'all, I do. We fam. But you ain't representing us. Not like that. No. Because you causing more harm than good. Those businesses y'all burning down and hurting. Don't you know somebody had a job there and now they can't work and now they ain't getting paid. Now they can't pay, put food on the table for their kids. Do you see what I'm saying? While you in there stealing from certain people. You get what I'm saying? What you reap is what you sow. You will get consequences for this. You will. Do the right thing, people. Know what is a distraction and what's not. And what you're in right now is totally a distraction. Send out all the prayers and give all the love to those who, like I say, have fallen victim, to those who are not all the way aligned and connected, who operated out of fear, operated out of hate, operated out of things that are contrary to God. Send prayers and send your love to those people who have fallen victim. Because truth be told, everybody have fallen victim at some point. Maybe you don't hear about it as often. But the enemy knows how to stir up stuff. More than just African Americans get killed by police officers. But they ain't posting it on the media. They're not posting it. Have you asked yourself why? Have you asked yourself why? Think about that. But I hope y'all got the same. But if you didn't, make sure you rewind and watch again. But in the meantime, in between that, you take just a little bit of what I'm telling you and apply to your life to the best of your ability. You won't ever have the mask smile. Why? Because your smiles will always be genuine. I'll talk to y'all soon. Be blessed, stay blessed, be blessed, stay blessed, be blessed, stay blessed. And remember, all lives matter to God. Y'all know what's coming next. Ciao.